There, so I want to show you some great tools on Google. And number one is how can you gather some information really quickly. So we're going to look at Google Forms. So if you are looking in your cube and you do not have Google Forms, which is pretty typical, it's not one of the ones that shows up, you can always go to forms.google.com. And if someone has sent you one before, this might be clicked as not owned by me. So if you want to see all the forms, then you want to click owned by anyone that might have shared them with you. Sometimes over in the right-hand corner, there's a big plus sign. Anytime you see a plus sign that's beautifully colored in Google, anything, that means start anew. So Google Form is a great tool to use to collect information. So it could be to even do a quiz online. You could have it and it would grade it itself. So I'll show you some of those tricks and tips as well. But if you wanted to just find out, how you're feeling today, or give me your address so I can drop something off, or whatever, the owner of the form is the only one who will get to see it unless you share that information with other people. So it's a great way to collect data from everybody at once, but not everybody sees it. Rather than email, that could be a reply all, and then everybody shares everybody's information. So over here, you've got an untitled form. If I just call this test, what happens then is it automatically saves, lovely Google thing. And I also, if I click up here, it's going to just copy that. If I want to change it, I can. It's changeable. But here's where I can adjust that. I can include a description. And then these little 6 dots allow me to move this particular question around. So over here, we've got the plus sign. Like I said before, anything that's plus sign means it's going to add it. So I'm going to add another question. And then, I want to put that up here. That's what that 6 dots does. I need to move that one down. Within it, though, I've got this picture. If I want to include a picture, and then I can hit that insert image from any of these places, including the camera. If I wanted to take my picture and put it on there, I can do that. And pretty quick time. I don't know unless you want to keep that. But it's also got predictive text. So if I put on here, what is your name? It's going to change this multiple choice. I don't know if you saw that happen, from multiple choice, which is the default, to short answer. So it's predicting what you're expecting as the answer. Then down here, you have a choice of duplicate. You decide, yeah, I don't want that image. This is an image, and in addition to the question. I'm just going to delete the whole thing. It would delete the whole question. Over here, then I've got required. So that means when people see it to take the quiz or the form to fill out, it will show as a little asterisk in red right up next to the question. So that means it cannot go to the next page or even finish it if they did not fill anything out there. So you can decide that. My little snowman here, which is the 3 dots on top of each other, is going to give me some more information. So based on what they would say, it might say, did you want to do something else? So you can have that where if you click this, it sends you to this question. So you've taken those tests, those quizzes before that. If you answer yes, go to question 14. You can do this on an online form as well. So there's that. Then I've got import questions. So if you've got a document already, Google or Word, it can be imported. It may have to be cleaned up a little bit. It's not perfect. It's a computer program, but it can do that where you don't have to retype tests. So if you're a teacher that's looking to do a quick online test, that's a great way to do that. You can add a title and description. You can add an image as the question. So that would not include it here. Like adding it here means it's part of the question. But if you wanted to add it here, it's going to be just that's going to be the question. It's going to take over the entire section. You can add a video. So you may have a TED Talk you want the students to watch. And then you would just say, watch this video, sign your name, and then that would be what is your name that when the thing is complete, so that you can have like a little, okay, now they could take a test on this because they've completed watching the video, or however you wanted to do that. I could add another section. This section could be the video. The next section would be questions about it. That could be a method, or you have other things that will jump off. So that's adding another section. So if I want to go down here to my second question and I say, so watch right here, I have multiple choice is my default. So if I say phone number, it automatically changes for me. Now you could still go back and do that if your phone number is 1, 2, 3, 4. But my other choices here are this. I can do a paragraph if I know it's going to be a lengthy answer, which is perfectly fine. You could use this as a quiz for that as well. How are you feeling right now? Tell me about something great that's happened in this last week. You could use that. So if you wanted to have students do journal entries for you, something like that, that would be the paragraph. Multiple choice, you only get to choose one of the buttons. Check boxes, you can have them choose as many as you want. Drop down would be where they would just select one, but they would have a list to choose from. You can have them upload files to you, and you can also upload a file for them. The linear scale would be strongly agree, medium, strongly disagree, yes, no, neutral, those kinds of things is a linear scale. So if I did that, it's going to go from 1 to 5 as the default, but you can go all the way up to 10, or as low as 1 to 2 if you wanted to. Then you label them. For that, then you can have a multiple choice grid where you're going to, it's not so much like matching, and then a checkbox grid. So of this many things, what do you want to include there? You can have one where you just want it to have the date. So today's date, or birth date, and then they can pull it and type it in directly, or they can also pull up on this calendar and it'll help them fill it in. Same thing with time, on the time completed. Now you can do those, but you also have an option that, well, it's not even an option, it automatically timestamps when you've done a form and when someone has responded to it, automatically timestamps for that. So let's say this is our form, we've got it filled out. I'm going to make this a required question just so you can see what it looks like on the back end. So that's my basics. I've gone through a few different things. So then here is, I can customize my theme, choose an image to put up there, either, for one of theirs, or I can choose my own. Add the little color, it changes the theme color if I want to make it different. I can change my font style. So I can do a little bit different things there. Not tons, but you want it to be as simple as possible. Then a preview is just going to say, okay, this is what it's going to look like. So you want to go through and see if that's what you want it to look like. So the asterisk shows up here because it's going to be a required question. So these are not required questions. So the only one I have to answer is right here before I can submit it. If I don't put anything and I hit submit, it tells me my required questions are not answered. So that's a preview. That's what that little I stands for. And then here are my settings. So I have my own business, so it automatically defaults to this, but it may not for you. If you're part of a business, it would, but you can do forms with any kind of Gmail account. Collect email addresses. That's because I'm within a business, so they would have to be signed in to do that. So you want to do that for school, so that those students are using their own Gmail accounts. And that would be a great way to get that. You can hit that. And then you can have a response receipt so that you know that you received it. You can limit it to 1. So if you haven't taken a test, they can only take it once. If you can let them go back and edit it afterwards, but then you have to sign in. And then they can see the responses. That's under general. Under presentation, you could shuffle your questions if you're doing a quiz where they might be taking it near someone, in this case, probably at least 6 feet away. And then this would be the message that you would have it presented. You could do a progress bar if you had multiple pages and you wanted to know I'm 15% done or whatever, that's in there. Shuffle the question order, that's up to you. Show the test, the link to submit the response. In this case, you probably wouldn't want that. And then this is your default is going to be response has been recorded. If you want to go to a quiz, then you have to go through this extra step of telling the answers that are correct, and that kind of thing. And so that'll walk you through that process as well. So when you're ready to have it all ready, you like the preview, it looks good to you, everything looks good, then you're going to hit the send button. So you can send it versus email or via email straight in here, typing in everybody's name, or you can take a link. This little guy just means a link. This means embedding. You're putting it on a website. This is a link. So here's my link. Now, if I were to write this on the board and have kids try to figure this out, that's insane. They would never be able to do that. So they can shorten it, but really you're also going to just set it so it's a web link. So all they have to do is click on it. So here's where you shorten it and copy it. And then it says down here that it's copied to the clipboard. So then you could go into Google Classroom, send an email, and attach this in the link. And so all they would have to do when they find it is click on it. So if I paste this, because it's already been copied, so if I do a right click and a paste, it's going to automatically send me to that really long one that we talked about. But it was a short little URL. And it goes right to my test, crazy face, and an opportunity for them to submit that. So what happens when they submit it? Excellent question. So how will I know if they've taken the test? This is how you know. So back on the main form, you've got question tab here and a responses tab. The responses tab is going to have those responses for you down in here. You can look at them as a summary, or you can look at them as individual answers. So you have a way to look at it here, or if you prefer, you can have a spreadsheet created that matches your form. And so what it does is it's going to automatically create for you. If you want it into an existing spreadsheet, it will do that as well, and you tell it which one. But I usually create it so that I can find it easier. And it's going to create a Google Sheet, which is going to still automatically save to your Google Drive. Anything you create in Google when you're signed in is going to automatically connect to your account. So here's what it looks like. It's got the same 3 questions that I put up there, as well as it automatically does a timestamp. So I take this right now. I go to my preview and I take the test. Bob, birthday. The time, 4:05 p.m. and I hit submit. And it gives me that standard. I can change that. So here, notice that my responses, I went just a tab over. Here, my responses are now at 1. When I go to my sheets, it fills in as well. And the first thing it does is gives me a timestamp. That's so you know when that person submitted that form. Date and time. So if I go back to my responses, it's going to give me a list of that information. If I want to just look individually, I can go through individually and go through each one. If I just want to look at the question, what did everybody say for this one question? I can go individually by those questions. So think of how you could use this to gather information as would work for you. So a couple of different things that I use Google Forms for is gathering information on, addresses for I put signs in people's yards, or my husband has his own business, so we collect mileage. Or you can use it as quizzes, however you want to do it. So for example, if you have many kids filling it out, this is when we hit started in order to do a 4th grade response. We have 87 responses. If they're multiple choice, it will put it into pie graphs for you. So those of you that are using SurveyMonkey and paying for it, Google will do it for you. You don't have to use SurveyMonkey. So really interesting ways to look at. But again, I can look at individuals, the summary of this is what all 87 said. This is what they all said to each question. This is what each individual person, I can look at theirs. If it doesn't have like their own email address, then I can't use that information. I wouldn't know it. but if it does, then it could be helpful. So that's how you can make it look when you have people fill it out. So any questions about Google Forms, feel free to reach out to me. It's one of my favorite things to use in Google, and I have a lot of favorites. So, all right, thanks so much.